China's bad. Okay? Let's make this real simple, because a lot of people are under, I don't know, they just don't think about it, or they haven't done any type of research on it. But like, the Chinese Communist Party is the ideal government for the controlling factions. So the majority of people in politics and that run nations right now wish that they had the control that the Chinese Communist Party has over their population. It is the perfect dictatorial state. And it is the embodiment of the people's enemy. Okay? It is the manifestation of everything that we as free-spirited individuals should despise. They are the fundamental enemy of the United States. Maybe not militarily. I mean, they could be, because they have over a 100 million man army. So that's kind of a big thing. Not to mention their industrial power. That's besides the point. On a fundamental level, the ideals that are upheld and enforced by the Chinese Communist Party go against the very nature of freedom. And every individual who has some freedom should be very, very weary, because a lot of other governments around the world are under the influence of the Chinese. Of course, here in the United States, if you pay attention, you would see how it's quite visible. But if you look at the control that they have in other nations, in Africa, in South America, all through Europe, and obviously Asia, their tendrils are extending forth. It is their agenda to be the dominant power on the planet. And if they weren't just outright evil, it would be commendable. Is that not what every empire seeks to do? But for this government to be upheld by the other leaders of what would be free nations should be a very scary thing indeed. So, you have no rights. You get given a job. They have buildings with catch nets so people can't jump out and kill themselves, because all they do is eat, sleep, work, repeat. They organ harvest from the Tibetans and now the Uyghurs, not to mention the slave labor, child working. It's outstanding. But, so free trade on a global level. Everybody should be playing by the same rules. Here in the United States, in order to manufacture something, you have to pay people a decent wage. Debatably. In China, there is no such rule. You can have slave labor. You can pay a pitiful wage. But then they're allowed to compete with other nations that are handicapped with treating their people like people. This hasn't been seen as a problem for some reason, and I don't know why. You allow another nation who plays by a completely different set of rules to play your game, right? That in itself, aside from everything else that they're doing and potentially releasing a pandemic on the planet, and then setting the standard for how every other nation is supposed to act in accordance. No. America as an ideal is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Liberty and justice for all. Freedom. Come on. This is the people's government. The Chinese government is the government of dictators. It's the ideal for dictators, for kings, for elite rule, for a drone hive mind society where you are not an individual and you possess no freedom, you have no possessions, you have no rights. This goes against everything that I believe in and everything that our nation stands for. And America is the only nation who can oppose China. The only one. What do you think? The European Union's going to do something about it? You think that these other nations in Asia that are being dominated by China and have nothing in the way of the industrial military complexes that they have, as well as the organizational method and the total control of their population in order to exact that? America is the only thing that stands in the way of global society, of domination, zero freedom, zero rights. We need to remember this. The American dream is supposed to inspire, and that's why we are the most immigrated nation in the world. We present opportunities with freedom. And now I have a lot of issues with the way that America has been operating as of late and throughout a lot of things in its history. And there are a lot of things that need to change. But the ideal of America is for the people. The ideal of China is for the ruling class. We are not enemies with the Chinese people. We're enemies of the Chinese government. Just fundamentally. Their ideals clash with what we are supposed to represent. Not only as a nation, but as individuals. We have more in common with each other than those that want us to fight.